Good evening, welcome to this, good afternoon, welcome to this special session of the MDUSD board. We will be operating under revised Brown Act guidelines. Governor Newsom, in light of the public health crisis, has made some revisions. So along those lines, one, we do have a board member who has called in. The address is not listed, but that is acceptable under the revised Brown Act. Second, I will take public comment cards. I will do everyone who is here publicly first. We also set up an email address where people could email their comments. And then after we go through the in-person speakers, Ms. Mason and I will read the emails alternately for those people, and then the board will move into closed session. There is no set time for when the board will be returning to open session. So those are the items to begin. And one final one is I will also have, after public comment, we will take district organizations, so who may speak with no time limit. So with that, I will start with public comment with Ben Altieri.
Hello, members of the board, but more importantly, do I push the button?
You need to get the microphone.
Hello, members of the board, but more importantly, hello to the men and women who hold the safety of my peers and I in the palms of their hand.
I am Ben Altieri, and I speak on behalf of the Northgate student body. After interviewing over 200 students directly and hundreds more indirectly, we have reached a consensus on our list of concerns regarding the decisions made surrounding this pandemic. These concerns include a more direct and open form of communication between the board and the student body, maintaining student equity during this distant education period, supplying students who rely on the school for necessities with those necessities, a strategic and firm plan for combating the spread upon students' return, and many more. Even as schools are postponed, we do not feel safe. We, the Northgate student body, who are forced to eat on the floor in a district where hand sanitizers are not on the approved chemicals list, are fearing for our well-being even after our return. We bring this up not to discredit your decisions, for these are unprecedented times, but rather to extend our hand, to offer an opportunity to include the students, the hearts and minds of which you swore to cultivate. Thus, we would like to open a dialogue between the student and the board, for you to hear our concerns via meeting. So instead of making decisions for us, you can make decisions with us. Thank you for your time.
I'll pause for one moment. I'm sorry it wasn't on my screen there, so I go right into public comment, but I'll quickly go through and do roll call. So I'll start with Ms. Durkee.
Here.
Ms. Mason.
Here.
Ms. Count.
Here.
Mr. Lawrence is also here. And Ms. Mayo on the phone, are you able to hear us?
Yes, I'm able to hear you. Thank you.
Yes. So Ms. Mayo is attending, is with us via teleconference. The next speaker is Mark Jones.
Hello and good afternoon, Board of Education and Superintendent Mark Martinez. My name is Mark Jones with Teamsters 856. I'm here today to address the major concerns we've been hearing from our members. Literally all day and up to the last couple of minutes we've been hearing, for instance, transport concerning going into work on Monday with no work to do, sitting in a port, 100 people in one portable, is a major concern for us. Today we're asking that all of our members wishing to stay home be allowed to stay home with paid leave so that they may be able to care for themselves and their families. As you may know, San Leandro and San Francisco school districts have already taken this step. West Contra Costa, and we are currently finalizing the same with West Contra Costa Unified School District. We recognize this is a unique moment in our history, and many are scared and many are confused. But we all want to do our part in stopping the spread of this disease. Please help us with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mitzi Chacon? Chacon.
Good afternoon, I'm Mitzi Chacon from Mount Diablo High School. Most of you got an email from Scott Ananos, who was here, so I'm just representing those of us at the school. Just to reiterate that the cleanliness at our school is not really where it should be. There has been a email going around, and it basically, the classroom sanitizing machines have never been filled since I've been there. I've been there for 3 years. The bathrooms go without soap. Most of the time our student bathrooms are closed. We only have one janitor during the day, and our school is humongous, and he can't get to all the places that he needs to go. The desks have never been washed. I personally, in my office, if I want it vacuumed, I have to contact Nick directly with maintenance. And the reason I have to contact him is because in September through January, there were rats under my desk, and I'm in the College and Career Center, and it was a weekly and daily basis. I would call him because there were 5 rats. We actually have videos of them, and I had 5 rat traps under my desk, and it smells. My carpet smells. So in January, they finally got an outside exterminator to come, and we said, okay, that's great, they're gone, but now we have this smelly carpet, and we were told, well, we can't do anything about that either. So we're asking at least vacuum it, and we still can't get it done. So we're really concerned about that. We're very concerned for the students. The teachers are concerned that there is not enough supplies on campus for us, and so we'd like to know what do we do about this? What possibly can be done to help us, because we do want our students there and we do want our students learning, but we want them to be safe and the rest of us to be safe also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have a card from parent 1.
Good afternoon. As you know, we have 2 settlement agreements pertaining to 2 students with disabilities. Both of those students go to private schools funded by the Mount Diablo Unified School District. Within the last couple of hours, we learned that Mount Diablo Unified School District has stopped funding at least to one of those schools for one of those students. We do not know whether it pertains to the broader initiative that you guys are handling, moving people to online classes, or whether it is targeted specifically at those students, one or both of those students. So that's what we're here to find out. If you could direct us to the proper person or people to get those questions answered for us today, we would certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dr. Martinez, would you be able to direct the correct staff person to follow up? Okay, thank you. Okay. And then I will move along to, I have no other public comment cards. I'm going to move along to district organizations, and then we will read the comment cards that are the comments that have been emailed in. So first I'll start with Annie Nolan.
And President of CSEA, I'm taking it you're going to talk about these between our jillion phone calls and text messages and emails today. First of all, they want to know if they're going to get paid. Second of all, I need to know about my bus assistants, because we still, as this gentleman was talking about, we don't serve just Mount Diablo School students. We serve a lot of other students. So I need to know what's going to happen to them. And as the lady was saying at Mount, I'd already gotten an email about no hand sanitizing, that they can clean their hands. And it's true, there's only one bathroom. I don't know they're working it over there. But those are the basic questions. And the other thing I'd heard that I'm sure you're going to talk about, I need to find out, because when the email went out, it said all schools are closed. So for those of us that get that email, that means that my members won't be going to work. And then I heard, oh no, staff has to go to work. So we have a lot of questions. Hopefully you're going to answer. You have lots of stuff to answer. So hopefully you're going to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Your questions are noted. And then with Dan Reynolds and Anita on behalf of Medea, or?
Yes.
Thank you. After we learned that this meeting had been called, understanding that we knew that many of our members would have concerns, but also understanding that they were at work at this time, as well as the fact that we didn't necessarily want the 300 people who ended up sending us emails here to be a large gathering, we asked them to simply send their comments to us. And we told them that we would share as many of them as we could, understanding that we want to respect time, but share with you what we have heard from our members over the last 21 hours about where things have been going on. But to also preface that by understanding that when this meeting was announced was yesterday, and when we asked our members for that input, it was yesterday, and that things continue to be fast moving. We understand that the communications that came out today begin to change those things. And so when we share the things like 27 of the comments were people encouraging the district to pursue closures, right, that's already been done, and so we don't need to continue to talk about that. But just to give kind of an overview of the categories of things that our members were concerned about. A couple of our members said, hey, we think you should keep schools open, and shared why. The vast majority of them, though, their concern was a desire to see the schools closed. There were several comments that we got that were specifically focused on the professional development day on Monday, the 16th. That still continues to be a concern because while we understand that school has been canceled starting on the 17th moving forward, that our teachers are going to be reporting on the 16th, there are no details about that yet, and people's concerns from their statements about that day continue to hold. And so we'll share a couple of those as well in summary. There were concerns about the way the district is communicating and what sorts of protocols have been put in place and how they're being communicated. There were concerns around things like, if school is canceled, am I going to still be paid, or am I going to lose my house because I don't have a check coming in to be able to pay my rent, and things of that nature, as well as if schools are canceled, what does the work look like and how do we get it done? There were a large number of concerns about the protocols the district had set in place for cleaning, or comments about hand sanitizers or soaps in bathrooms and things like that, that our members across the district felt were not what they could be. And so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And there were a number of teachers who shared concerns about this situation as it impacts their health specifically, because many of our teachers are in the 50 or over or 60 or over age that puts them in that group of persons who are at higher risk. There were also a number of our teachers who shared concerns, not necessarily for themselves as being populations at risk, but for people in their homes who are populations at risk, that they have family members who are immunocompromised, or they have elderly relatives living with them. And so there were a handful of comments on those as well. There were a number of comments about concerns around services to our students, and if we close our schools, what are we doing to ensure that kids who get meals at our schools will continue to eat, that if there are counseling services that our kids really depend on, and those sorts of things. And a lot of people just sharing thoughts on are we sure in all of the work that we're doing what's best for kids. And so that's just kind of a summary of things, and we are going to read you some specifics. I'm going to turn it over to Anita for the first section of those.
Hi. So I'm just going to read a couple of the comments about keep schools open. While I understand the concern over health and safety of the public, I feel like canceling schools will only create more pandemonium. Our students feel safe at school. We are the only normal some of them have. This disruption would affect them in ways we may never know. We have no known cases in the district at this time. Why shut us down? On a personal note, if you close school and send us all home and don't pay us, many of us will not be able to pay rent or mortgage. Unemployment covers a fraction of what we bring home in our paycheck. I personally would not be able to pay my rent or buy groceries. I wouldn't be able to support my child to provide for him. I urge you to think about this before you decide to shut us down. I know these decisions are difficult, but think about the thousands of employees who would suffer financially by closing schools and not paying us. I think that's the main one to read there. And then there's a couple of them for closing schools. As are many others, I am concerned about schools and the spread of the coronavirus. Our county has asked us to keep gatherings of no more than 50. We have almost 700 students, and over half of them are together before school. During recesses, about 350 kids are at the playground at once. At lunch, over 100 students eat at once, and probably half go through the lunch line. We have 3 sets of restrooms that all students use. You do the math. Schools and classrooms are teeming with germs. Generally, this isn't such a problem. However, with this virus, it's a huge problem. What I don't understand is why we would wait to close schools until we have until we contribute to the please take action with what is best for the community, California, the U.S., and the world. Don't worry so much about parents will do for child care. This one here says, I'm a teacher at a middle school in the district. I'd like to express my opinion about school closure. Although none of us wants any sort of closure and the students' education is our priority, I feel at this time school closure is the best thing to do safety-wise for the community as a whole. The site where I work is not being cleaned except for the normal sweeping, and all of the hand sanitizer dispensers are empty and have been for the last several years. These conditions put those of us on that campus at a greater risk of contracting illnesses, including coronavirus. In addition, because asymptomatic people are not being tested, we wouldn't even know if anyone on our campus is sick and spreading it. Even though most of us on this campus would be okay if we did get sick with the coronavirus, we run the risk of spreading it to family and community members who would not be okay, the elderly and those with compromised immune systems. I believe that unfortunately the only way to protect those at greater risk is to contain the virus by shutting down places where the chances of spread are greater, such as school campuses. We should be thinking altruistically for the benefit of the whole community, not just our own health. And one last one on this topic. I think schools need to be closed down as a parent and a teacher in a neighboring district. Other districts are closing. It is not about our kids getting sick. It is about them spreading it to the community and the safety of family members and staff at the school. We don't know if there are any cases. Many children are sick at school or home. They just haven't been tested because testing is so limited. So the lack of confirmed cases is not a good argument. If children can't have an after-school activity containing less children that are in their classroom, how is it safe to be in school? Please consider that we must slow the spread so that the medical world can care for the sick. Let's do our part and join the rest of the local community. Schools will be closed much longer if children and families get sick because we don't ask. Thank you for your consideration. I'm going to turn it back over to Dan to read a couple more.
Thank you, India. So again, we tried to separate the comments that our members gave us into categories. So this stack, which is the thickest of them all, was concerns over communication that went out from the district about what was happening at sites, and our members saying that that was not the case. So the district is saying one thing to the community about how they are working to prevent the spread of coronavirus, but I have seen no change in how my school is operating. I received no training in how to screen and assess students that are ill. I have not seen any changes in the way my school or classroom is being cleaned. I have not been offered more hand sanitizer, soap, or other cleaning supplies for my classroom. The district needs to make sure its actions are consistent with the message it is sharing with our community. Reading from a different member. Hello board, I'm a teacher at Mount Diablo High School and I need to convey the severity of the conditions at my site. And despite of mine and my coworkers' best efforts, our site has been ignored and forgotten. I don't want to seem dramatic or bitter in my intentions, although I do feel these are honest emotions when I think of my students and their lack of representation. We have a lack of subs on a daily basis, which forces already stressed teachers to fill their prep period, even if they're already teaching 4 different subjects, to cover an absent teacher's spot because our site cannot obtain subs. We have custodial staff that cannot meet the needs of our students and staff. We have to beg for paper towels and toilet paper on a daily basis. Staff have to purchase hand soap, paper towels, tissues, sanitizing and cleaning agents personally in order to keep the site at a bare minimum. My kids offer to sweep and empty the trash personally to make their learning environment tolerable. This is a gross injustice in the rights of our children and staff, especially in the face of a pandemic that medical professionals say can be minimized by canceling school for a few weeks in order to drastically minimize the spread of the coronavirus. I implore you to look beyond the budget and look at the community you serve and listen. Make the right choice, cancel school for a few weeks, clean things up. Staff us for what we need and care about the kids that we love so much. Emails that we got that were about communications and protocols. People are concerned about what the district's protocols are for our staff, for our students, for people who come onto our school campuses, whether it be parents who are there with their students or people who are delivering things. People are concerned about if these things are in place, they're concerned about not hearing about them or slowly hearing about them or having to learn about them through social media and not from the district. We understand that as things have progressed, more and more has made it to the district's website, but especially in the early parts of this week, that was not the case. And when the district first started communicating these things to the public, there was an announcement that went out that talked about more hand sanitizers, more washing, teachers assessing for illness. That went out to the community. It didn't make it to our members in a timely way. And so then when parents were asking them, oh, so you have the sanitizer you need, parents were saying, no, we haven't for months. Or parents were saying, teachers were saying, no, I haven't, but I have gone out and purchased some with my own money. One of the comments said, if what arrived at our school sites today is increased amounts of supplies, it was woefully inaccurate because their new supplies were a single bottle of hand sanitizer for the school site. People are concerned about what happens if we close schools and what it means to their own livelihood. We've heard this from members in the other units as well. We understand that there is engagement with the state that needs to happen in terms of ensuring that we can all get through this together and that it doesn't ruin people's lives. It doesn't ruin the kids' education for the year, that we stop the spread and that we take appropriate measures to keep our entire community safe. But our members as employees are also concerned that if actions by the district make it so that they're not at work and they're not getting paid, that they might lose their homes because many of our teachers live paycheck to paycheck. And so that is a concern for many of them as well. Also, as today progressed, we heard from members that site administrators are already telling teachers what they're doing next week when schools have been canceled, even though there hasn't been any direction from the superintendent or the board on those things. The principal at Northgate High School told his staff that they would be doing online learning and that they should get ready to check out materials to all of the students at their school so that they could then give all of their students lessons for as long as schools were closed. The principal at Concord High School told teachers, yes, you'll still be on campus, yes, we still expect you to hold IEP meetings, keep them scheduled. And so those things may end up happening, but without clear communication from the district about what is happening, and without the district engaging with the unions appropriately as to how it impacts our members as workers, those things need to happen, and so our members were concerned about that as well. There, especially in looking at the example from Elk Grove and how they canceled school this week and then they told their community, hey, we're just going to move spring break and it'll be this 1 week and then you won't have the spring break that you had been scheduled for. The worry has been that would be something the board considered. Some of our members, their specific concerns were about that and how it would impact families who have already laid plans for what spring break is. Understanding also that if we look to examples like San Francisco or West Contra Costa, their spring breaks were scheduled to be a week earlier than ours. So when both of those districts canceled classes yesterday, for next week, the week after, and the following week, which is their spring break. It is a different calendar than ours, where we had things scheduled next week, a full 5-day week after that, and a 4-day week after that before spring break. People also shared concerns about not understanding or knowing what would happen with the length of the school year. And so that's something that they would like to see clarification on, because if we are closed for a certain amount of time, they do not understand or know if school ends at the same day, or if there is going to be a push from the board or the district or the state to extend school past where it would normally end, and they're concerned about that. We also had a member who is a science teacher share concerns about vector spread and how things like this can spread on their own, and wanted to ensure that that was a part of the comments that we shared. Another of the categories that we had there were teachers concerned for their own health risk, and I'll read one of those to you. Good afternoon, board. Many teachers are over 55 and exposed to the germs that come into our classrooms and schools daily. It could be life-threatening for some staff and students to contract the COVID-19 virus and to take it home to elderly, babies, the immunocompromised, siblings, who in turn spread it to their schools, and parents, etc. We cannot afford to be in denial that we are in a worldwide pandemic, not knowing what the future holds for each of us. Yes, many families depend on school, so they may go to work and can't afford not to. But they would be much worse off if they took the virus home to an elder who became ill and possibly died. This is a complex issue, and I can appreciate that fact, but I implore you to act sooner rather than later. Don't be in denial of the human cost this might cause. And one more on that one. Dear board members, I teach at Ignacio Valley Elementary. I understand the importance of having students at every school day, that some students in our community rely on school meals, and that many parents rely on the school and the work that we do for children. But I think there is a larger issue at stake. If we don't stop the spread of the coronavirus, the consequences to our community could be devastating. Children are not the only people potentially exposed to the virus at school. Teachers, other staff, and parents are there as well. Some of us and some of our family members are in the high-risk groups. I am afraid for myself and my family. I am 61 years old. My husband is 68 and diabetic. My youngest daughter still lives at home and is immunocompromised. I am afraid to visit my 88-year-old mother. She is very fragile and has mild dementia. She looks forward to and depends on my regular visits. Every day I go to school increases the risk that I could bring the virus home and infect people I love. Please take our concerns seriously and follow the guidelines set by the health department for high-risk groups. Just a couple more. A teacher says, my wife and I both teach at different sites in the district, and our kids go to 4 different schools in the district. So that's a lot of daily exposure for our family. My 70-year-old father-in-law lives with us. How are you protecting us if the schools are open as the virus spreads right now without our ability to track it? Every disease scientist being interviewed in the media today is sounding the alarm that we are not doing enough. If the recommendation is no gatherings over 50 people, then schools must close immediately. And the last couple that we'd like to share, just the last one. Thank you for allowing members this opportunity to share our thoughts during this unprecedented time. As a teacher, my first thought with any new situation is always, what is best for the kids? And I know in situations like we find ourselves today, there are no easy answers. But for me, I think what is clear is that being in school is what is best for our kids. Making modifications to help limit the spread of coronavirus should, of course, be considered, like limiting after-school gatherings, especially when more at-risk adults are present, and allowing families more flexibility with absences. But schools provide more than just tests and lessons to children. We provide meals, education, friendships, and stability. Taking those things away from children and their families during these uncertain times will ultimately cause more harm than good. As a community, I know we can come to a conclusion that works well for all of us affected by this pandemic. And that if schools are closed, as schools are closed, we want to ensure that the services our schools are providing, if they need to happen, even in closures, that they are. The shining example that we often hear about is food services, that there are many children who the meals they get each day are the breakfast and lunch that they eat on our school campuses. Something needs to be put in place for that. As I mentioned earlier, we had a comment about things like counseling services or the other services that our kids are getting. understanding that there are many moving parts, understanding that situations like this can tax the infrastructure and the ability of our systems that we have in place. We understand that. It's one of the things that makes these such anxiety-inducing times that causes fear and concern in so many people, whether they are students, parents of those students, community members, or teachers, or other employees. Thank you.
Dr. David Pintado from Mount Diablo High School arrived after public comment. I respectfully ask that he be allowed to speak.
Yes, I have his, and I also have Carissa Weintraub. I'm happy to take, recognizing as an emergency meeting, we did this at a time that for teachers, we certainly recognize that. When the board returns from closed session, I will also take public comment cards if there are any other people arriving late, but Mr. Pintado.
Thank you very much, and sorry for being really late, no stop, but I'm here. Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for calling for this meeting. I want to say thank you, Dr. Martinez, for showing us that your first priority is the health and the safety of the school community, and to all of you. First of all, I want to tell you that for those that do not know me, I'm a full-time teacher at Mount Diablo High School, but today I'm here as a parent first. I also have my own children in the schools of the district. And after that, I will be a teacher and then a coach. And finally, I will be acting as your advisor because I'm a CTE district-wide advisor, and I also work for CTE as a CTE statewide advisor in health science and medical technology. And because of that, I want to tell you that I see my own high school that I live there for 10 hours, 12 a day, as a patient. You know, as a patient, and a patient that is sick. He's sick. My high school is sick, and I'm really, really worried, and I want to do something for the school. I'm not going to go on details that I already heard, a lot of details about the disinfectants and the lack of resources that we have. I want to be more proactive, and I want to actually, again, after I did my diagnosis of my patient, I want to start treating the patient to limit damage and to actually be able to rehabilitate my patient. In this case, my high school where I work and I love to be working there. What I don't see is actually a, not only in Mount Diablo High School, but in the district, a full diagnosis of the actual health, safety, environment situation of our district. I would tell you my own scenario in Mount Diablo. I can write you a document of all those situations that I face every day as a teacher and as an employee of the high school. But again, I want to tell you that when I heard that Dr. Martinez and the board had a task force, I was really happy, but I don't know who these guys are or what they're doing actually. And I've been doing health and science for many, many years. And I just want to make sure that we have the right team for the right job. And if not, I will tell you that I will actually do whatever I can to gather, you know, experts that you guys are talking with the health department and here and there. But basically, I'm gonna go back to my classroom. I do what I can. The first time that I start mentioning this was in January 22nd. Was the first time that I asked my students to start doing research about the disease. And from there now, my students, they had their 5-minute do now is basically disinfecting their surfaces, washing their hands. They know their drill every single day. So that way I don't feel that in my own micro universe I'm being threatened because my students know, and this is what I teach. I teach health, safety, and emergency preparedness.
I ask you to give a final thought. And
Definitely. 3 suggestions. Number 1, I suggest that all the teachers being trained in a packet of topics that includes emergency preparedness, first aid, CPR. Half of the teachers that I did a survey recently today in Mount Diablo, more than half, they're not CPR first aid certified or re-certified. They're not. So how can we do that? Drainage concussion, stop the bleed, all those, they are there, but we do it very sporadic. We need to put everything together in like an in-service for all the teachers so we know what to do. And supplies, I suggest also to transfer funds from grants that have access, CPA, CTEC, and Perkins, to allocate funds to actually purchase supplies to provide with the below teachers what they need to provide a safe and healthy environment for the children. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And Carissa?
Good afternoon. Hello. First, I want to say thank you for showing leadership during this crazy time. I just can't imagine everything that trying to get all the information in and trying to make a timely decision. So I just want to say thank you for taking the time to do that. I also wanted to reiterate the same messages that the gentleman from Mount Diablo High School, Dan and Anita, also read, identical to what teachers and students have been saying to me today in the last couple of days at Ignacio Valley High School. So the students had some specific questions that I told them that I would ask you. The first question is, will the end of the quarter be extended? Because the end of the quarter for high schools is next week, and at my school, a lot of times we allow students that last week to make up work in order to boost their grade. So they're very concerned about that because they won't be able to do that, obviously, next week. Also then, they were very concerned about senior events such as graduation. Would that be affected? And I realized that these questions, or the answers to them, would be absolutely moving targets, but to keep those questions in mind moving forward. Then from teachers specifically about pay, as Dan and Anita had also said, I know at my site, at least me personally, and based on what other schools have been doing throughout the nation, moving to this online learning model as much as possible. This is for me, not speaking for my site, but speaking for me personally. I would love to see us be able to do that and to have some direction on that if possible. Of course, there's issues with it, such as access for students, and I just wanted to throw out there that Comcast is also providing free Wi-Fi for the next 2 months for low-income students. And I wanted to ask permission if we could check out our Chromebooks to students, because that might be a way to sort of bridge the gap with some learning issues, or learning related to access, specifically for our students. And I believe that is all. Oh my gosh, I'm still under time. Thank you so much.
I just have one question for you
yes.
on the Chromebooks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a sense at your site if you would have enough Chromebooks for the students that need them, if that?
Yes, we would, because not all students would need them. Several students do have their own. So I think to bridge the gap for the students that don't have it at home, we would have enough. I know that we have, I think, about 400 Chromebooks on campus, I believe. So in total, I mean, we have 1,200 students at school, but I think that there are students that have access to stuff. We also, most of our students have phones, so there are ways to design lessons that they can have access to the information on their phones. So, you know, that is sort of a bridge to that as well. It's not a perfect solution.
Yes, Anita.
If I could just conclude our part of the presentation, I wanted to let you know that Shauna Hawes is a teacher at Valley View Middle School that does extensive online work, and she is on her way here in case you have any questions about that. But she did have some questions that her students asked her, and it was basically in terms of if we
Anita,
close. Yeah.
I actually have those questions. We already
You have
did
Shauna's
them.
questions?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, and then I just wanted to just to clarify that a lot of the, or some of the impacts of all of this will need to be negotiated, and so we are available as soon as possible to get those negotiations started. Thank you.
So as of now, I have no other public comment cards or district organizations, other than, as I mentioned at the beginning, Ms. Mason and I will read through the ones that were submitted to us. You know, I think many of the questions that were asked today are many of the questions that the board themselves have, because these, as people have said, these are unprecedented times. And so we are going to be doing our best to answer the questions that we can now, and it will be an ongoing conversation and an ongoing dialogue, because we are looking for answers in instances that are beyond the district, where we are looking at a state and federal level to help with those, and on things, I think all of us are concerned about things like graduation and the timelines around that, and so as we have more clarity, we will share those, and as things change, we will also share that. So, Dr. Martinez, anything else to add to that before okay. So I will start, and similar to what Anita and Dan did, I'm going to kind of move these into categories. We will publish the entire document and attach it to the agenda with all of these read into the record, but several of them are from yesterday, where they're advocating for the closure of schools, and so things that no longer seem quite as germane, and so instead I'll move to the ones that are specific to them, and Ms. Mason and I will alternate here. So I'm starting with an email submitted from Naomi Hughes. Thank you for closing MDUSD starting next week. My remaining concern is that you understand the vital importance of this closure lasting at least 2 weeks, preferably 3, to align with other districts in our region that have already made their announcements. Less than 2 weeks closure would lack effect considering the standard incubation period of up to 14 days for this virus. These school closures are needed as essential component for creating social distance in all facets of our lives, work, school, and other person-to-person interactions, in order to slow the spread. The paramount goal now is to pace and spread out over time our local community's need of hospitals, ventilators, oxygen, and other medical resources. At this juncture, all large organizations such as MDUSD have a moral obligation to participate in social distancing, or it simply won't work. Please do the right thing for our district population and community. Thank you, Naomi Hughes. Ms. Mason, I'll turn to you for the next one.
Okay, this one's from Denise Lambert. Hi, I don't know if I can make the meeting, but I wanted to comment. I know West Contra is closed. I would suggest moving spring break to accommodate. I think most plans will be already canceled during that time, but maybe not penalizing a student if they are gone. What about graduating seniors? Classes online. DVC classes will be online. Arts and performance classes will be a little more difficult. Students should all take their books home tomorrow. Good luck, and thank you for all you're doing, Denise Lambert.
The next one I have is from Lubomir Petrov. Hi, I believe that closing schools is the right decision. I may understand that it may put some people in difficult situation with finding childcare while at work, but nevertheless it will slow down the spread of the virus. Hopefully this will lead to a milder case increase and give hospitals and doctors and nurses a chance to save people. Unlike China, Iran, Italy, where they have had to make choices who to treat in ICU and who to turn down, send back home with life-ending pneumonia. Less spread means lower increase rate, less overcapacity moments for hospitals, and more lives saved.
Next one is from Jeannie Choi. Hello, I disagree with the closure. Acting with an abundance of caution is a media-hyped excuse. I support reopening schools. This is very difficult right now because it means courageously standing up to public paranoia. I implore you to be brave.
From Christina Leilani, I would like the district to take action like other school districts and close until April. This is not safe for students or staff. Even if kids have lower risk, they can spread to us parents or other adults. Teachers and staff need to be protected too. My son's after-school program informed us workers were around someone who tested positive in this area. So it's here in the area. Protect everyone and allow staff to still be paid.
From Melissa Standards, I was so impressed your calm leading up to today's closure. It was disappointing when the board decided to feed into the unwarranted hysteria and cancel school starting March 17th. As a registered nurse that spent several years in level 1 pediatric ICU, I'm surprised by everyone's response regarding COVID-19. I agree with the county's recommendation regarding the older population in groups over 50. However, I feel that the students were very safe in a structured school setting and closing was unnecessary. I am fully aware that we live in a litigious society, and as a district there is pressure to bend the rantings of a panicked population. But please keep in mind the financial ramifications this closure will have on families when determining the end date. With parents working from home, using less public transportation, and extracurriculars being canceled, I believe that school has essentially already become a 6.5-hour quarantine. For your consideration, Melissa Standards.
Tina Mary Coleman. Thank you for doing the right thing by closing schools. I am lucky to work from home so I can stay with my kids. Many others are not. Please consider leaving sites open as childcare for those who have no other option. The impact to the community will still be greatly reduced. This is frequently done in other states when weather causes closures of schools. And then maybe I can read the first few of the questions from Shauna Hawes. Shauna Hawes, technology teacher, passed along some of the questions from her students. These are her 7th and 8th grade students. If we cancel school, do we have to take online classes or go to school over the summer? Will the quarter pause if we cancel school next week? Will the teachers email our school Gmail accounts with homework? All caps, why did you cancel all of the concerts instead of rescheduling them? We prepared them a musical banquet and you cancel around 3 months of hard work and practice. As you can tell, I am very angry about this decision. If we close school for the next couple of weeks, how will we catch up on academic work? I want to ask you not to add school time into our summer. My children might have written that one. Well, we have to make up the days at the end of the school year, even though we are assigned work for home. I want to know if we will have a live chat for each class and also if this will go into our summer. Ms. Mason?
My question to the school board is quite simple. The question I have is how long will the school be closed and how long will it be until the school reopen? This is the only thing I would like to ask the school board. I would really appreciate it if the online sessions will be during school time, 8 a.m. to 2:15. Several students, including me, have an after-school activity and it might interfere with our lessons. I just want to ask how we will know the time to be online so we can do the assignments. Like, how will we know when to be online for class to start? If nobody in our district has the coronavirus, then why are we closing the schools? I want to know how long school will be out for and if we will have to make up school days during summer break. I also want to know how we're going to be able to know when our teachers are online and when our classes are starting. How will they make kids join? I feel like a lot of people could miss their classes if they don't know when they start. And are you going to take away our spring break? How will classes work?
Okay. Email from Monica McCarthy. I'm writing out of concern for the seemingly constant yearly school closures, smoke, power outages, and now this pandemic. It seems to always be a scramble to figure out how to keep learning, if at all. What plans are you making to keep the kids learning during school closures, since they are now a regular occurrence? Are you coming up with a way to continue instruction? Can you add days into the calendar like other places do for their snow days? I'm concerned that MDUSD students are falling behind the rest of the country due to these yearly emergency closures that are not made up. They don't seem to be getting the same learning opportunities. If you are truly putting the students first, you should also be making sure they are going to school the required amount of days.
Michelle Allis. Dear esteemed board members, my name is Michelle Allis and I'm a junior at Northgate High School. I'm a strong proponent of the precautionary measures taken by the district to prevent the spread of COVID-19. While Northgate is not a school of particularly low socioeconomic status, other schools in the district may have students that rely on free and reduced lunch programs. The USDA offers specialized meal service for their food and nutrition service programs. If you could address this in your discussion, but how would that work for the MDUSD specifically? Ask at what sites would meal service be offered? Thank you for all your hard work during this community endeavor. Us students appreciate it greatly. Which is nice to hear.
It is. And so that concludes our public comment. As previously mentioned, the board is going to move into closed session for...
Point of order though, I'm just curious for our legal counsel, under what safe harbor is the closed session piece?
It is under the government code. And
Okay,
it is
for emergency meetings?
For emergency, it's a prep to public access to services and or facilities.
And thank you, Ms. Mason, and thank you for the clarification. So it's under 3.1, consultation, review, and recommendations for district's coronavirus response. It is now 2:50 by my count. I will aim to have us back by 3:30. And I would also encourage people to, they can review the rest of the meeting online if they would so choose, or at the very least stop all congregating together in the back. So with that, the board will move to closed session. Thank you.